Here we go.
Here. I'll be here all night.
Let's get back to our seats, please. Was that worthwhile? Did you guys meet somebody new? Someone that lives nearby? Someone else that likes mangoes? Okay. Melissa from Mama G Farms is here to present on Moringa tonight. Are you an expert on Moringa?
Not an expert, but I mean, we've been growing it for over 10 years, so.
Well, thank you for coming to Lake Permaculture and presenting for us.
Thank you. So, good evening, everybody. I guess it's working. I don't usually need a mic. But so our farm is in Eustis. We have 5 acres where we grow moringa. I started growing moringa because I took myself off of pain management, and of course my body was a hot mess. And we looked for ways to build back my immune system and my strength, and we went to buying the moringa in the health food stores, and then found out you could grow it ourselves. And so that's where my journey started in eating healthy and using plants as medicine. So that took us from the moringa to the turmeric and ginger and to all the herbs that we grow now. And so we started a non-for-profit, and we do free classes and workshops. And our goal is to just educate people on how they can use plants to improve their health and to help them hopefully stay away from Walgreens. So that's the biggest thing, right? We need our doctors. We need our doctors and nurses, but whatever we can do to keep our bodies strong and healthy, that's the goal. And so here we go. I'm not good at the clicker. I'm going to just be showing you the other way, just about the moringa tree. So this is just information. Most of the pictures, I'm just going to show you pictures and explain them. But so moringa is a tree from India, is where it's native, is what I was told. And the leaf, the seed, the flower, and the pod are all edible, and they all have nutritional value. I don't promote the root. So there's just too much, it's not clear enough whether or not we should be messing with that at all. And so it's used all over the world to improve people's health because it's so easy to grow in dry and arid environments. They grow it in places like Haiti and South America and Africa, all around the world. And the World Health Organization, they say, promotes it for people to add to their diets to improve their health. And so that's how, the world knows about it. But, okay. These are some of the nutrients found in moringa. And so I'm not going to read them all out. But it's got vitamins and minerals and amino acids. So it's considered a whole food, which means that if your only source of food, nothing else besides water, was moringa, you could survive. Your body would function and you'd be okay. You might not like it, but it's a source of food that if it's your only source. So if you only had a broccoli plant, or you only had kale, or any of the other ones that you think are wonderful, if that was your only source, that one plant, your body would start shutting down and you'd die eventually because it's not enough nutrients for your body to operate. And that's why moringa is considered a whole food, because it has all the necessary amino acids and vitamins for you to survive. So, I prefer filet mignon, but I'll take, if all we have is moringa, and in the world we live in, it's an important thing to have in your garden and yard. And so you can research, it's got a ton of health benefits. And again, it's just, you can continue to go on websites. This is from drax.com, where it talks about all the things that moringa can do for you. But from what it's done for me, is it helped with inflammation, it built my strength and my immune system back. And by adding it to your diet, what I say is that it helps your body work properly. So I've heard people, including myself, have come off of, medications like blood pressure, people that are, their blood sugar's getting better, just all kinds of things. And so, but everybody's different, everybody's body works different. And so I just tell people to go slow and just pay attention. And if you're under the care of a doctor, always include him. Don't try to avoid him if he's already given you medications. So we grow moringa on 5 acres. These are some pretty pictures that I took. There's always pretty ones. But we get a lot of ladybugs. Every now and then we get aphids, but the ladybugs seem to love to grow, to come and lay eggs in our trees. We get a lot of butterflies and bees. They just pull them in, and this is just a pretty picture of the pods. So this is just a pretty one. We'll go to more descriptive stuff. Here is a couple ways we grow it. So we have several different ways on our farm that we grow it. We have a high tunnel, which is basically, a structure with a plastic roof and sides. There's no well, we put irrigation on the ground, but it's not like a greenhouse. It's not heated, it doesn't have fans. And so we utilize the high tunnel so that our season is longer. So when we start getting hard frosts and cold weather, this keeps our trees, warm longer, and so they're producing the leaves longer. And that's just one. So that's already been cut. These have been cut. They grow all the way to the roof, and then we chop them back. This is what we call the grove, even though it's not a grove. It's more grown here like a crop. We grow them tight together. And this was cut back. This part was cut back in September, and I just took this picture. So a couple of months, that's how much it's grown back from being cut from there. And so that's how we rotate this one area. We harvest the leaves, we dry them, and we make powder. But we rotate that area with growth, which is just another way you can grow them. You can, get a lot of trees in a lot of areas. And so this is a field where we have moringas, which are farther apart. When we first started the farm, we were growing them only this way. And it really wasn't productive for leaf growth. So the other way, more like a crop, you're going to get a better production for just leaves. We've let the field just grow now. That's just growth from our freeze that we get every year. But we're growing the pods now and doing the seeds. So if you don't cut them back all the time, then you'll get the flowers and the pods and the seeds. But if you're cutting them all the time, you're not going to get that production. And I'll show you different things that we do with the seeds and the pods. This is kind of like a small food forest area we have, and we've allowed the moringa to just grow in there. So these guys, this is growth from the winter. So they died back to the ground and grown up. And this is probably, this is 10 foot tall, that structure there. So that kind of gives you an idea. That's where we do our outdoor classrooms under the shade roof. But you can kind of see how much they've grown with not touching them. So if you don't cut your trees back, you're going to have a Dr. Seuss tree, tall and skinny, and you're not going to be able to get to what you need to eat. But that's just kind of a teaching tool we use when people come out. Because when your tree is 5 foot tall, 4 foot tall, it's really pretty, and nobody wants to cut it. But if you don't cut it, you're going to get that. And so something we deal with on our farm is snails right now. And so this is the damage that the snails are doing to my moringa trees. You can it's not killing them, it's just annoying me. And plus, I don't want to be harvesting leaves and dealing with snails, because, then I've got to make sure I don't put snails in my leaves. And so it makes things more difficult for me. So I have invested in some guinea fowl. And so for them I've only got 3 right now, but I've got, I think, another 10 coming. So those are a crazy bird that's the size of a turkey. If you look them up, they're crazy looking. And apparently our neighbors have some, but they're loud and annoying. But we've got 5 acres, and people out there don't really care too much. But they eat bugs. So the guineas are prolific bug eaters. They eat ticks, they eat snails, they eat beetles, caterpillars, lizards. They'll eat small snakes, and they said even small rodents. So, but they are crazy looking, and they're a wild bird from Africa. I don't have a picture of them. I should have, but I didn't. I'm sorry, guys. So they're really cool looking. So that's what we're doing. Not everybody can do that, but I just, using pesticides and stuff is not going to work in a large environment, and we do everything organically. So this is an issue we have with our moringa trees, and a lot of people have it. It's a leaf spot. When I first started growing it, I got the leaf spot. So I took the tree leaves to the University of Florida Extension office, and she looked at it underneath a microscope, and she said that it was similar to what the tomatoes get from the humidity, from the moisture sitting on the leaves. And of course, she recommended, I think, copper or something else. But I had a friend, which she's recently sold her business, but was Our Vital Earth Worm Farm. If you guys heard of her, she's sold worm tea, worm compost tea, and worm castings. And she told me that if I how to use it, which is basically spraying the tree top to bottom. Once you find it, you remove the infected leaves, then spray the tree top to bottom for a couple days in a row, and then we do it once a week and then once every 2 weeks, and that usually clears it up. And so what we found is that if you just use it consistently, then you won't get the leaf spot. And so it's also a fertilizer, and our leaves get super dark green, and we get a lot of benefits from using it. So it's just a really good organic fertilizer, the worm compost tea. Yeah. And so, I mean, Worm Nerd is the new company that took it over. They changed the name, and I'm not sure if they do all of their practices, but we're in the process of building some large worm compost bins. So we're using 2 old bait tanks. So they're fiberglass, and it's crazy looking, but we're going to try it. We'll try anything. But this is just a picture, so you can kind of see the yellow. Your moringa's going to have natural yellowing, but this is different. And so not everybody knows what it is. They try to say it's not natural yellowing. And it also, I don't know, I would think it would affect your product and your leaves to some extent. But this is another issue we have, and I don't know what causes it. Every now and then, I know it's some kind of a nutrient deficiency, but this is just normal yellowing. The tree does normal yellowing at the base as it grows, but this is, I believe, is a nutrient deficiency. But I very rarely get that, but I just figured I'd show it to you to give you guys, so when you're growing yours, you've got some information to look at. Drying. So I started out using just a drying rack like this. When it was just for myself, I would just fill that bottom part with the leaves, just the leaves, no stems. And I covered it with a piece of cheesecloth so that no dust would get in. And like I said, it was just for us, my private use. And I had it in a room with air conditioning and fans going, and I just fluff it every day just to make sure that wasn't matting down or anything. And you don't want to try to dry anything that's wet anyway. So it will make a mess. You're going to get a mess on your floor, so you want to put something under it because the little pieces will fall through. I tried to give y'all the pointers so that you don't have to deal with what I did. And this is just a drying a dehydrator. I only use a dehydrator in emergencies. So I have a gentleman that doesn't like powder. He prefers just the dried leaves, so he can make his own tea. And so he'll call me and say he wants some, and I'll do it overnight and have him a bag for him. And you can use the dehydrator for that. But I mean, for personal use, it will do it overnight. This is our drying room. We have a room full of those racks, and we go in daily and fluff them so that we don't have we have the air circulating through it. And we've got ceiling fans and dehumidifiers. So that's what we utilize. That's a steel building with no windows. There's no light. We keep it dark in there. And that's how we do it on a large basis. So it makes it easy to get, it takes a few days with a room like that. And depending on the humidity outside, of course, Florida weather is not always helpful for drying any of your herbs. It can be a pain. So when I would grind my powder, my leaves, so you're taking your leaves off. I should have brought some tonight. I'm sorry, guys. I strip the leaves off and then dry it. And then this is just a coffee grinder. That's how I started. So personal use, you use a little simple drying thing or a dehydrator. And I ground it in a coffee grinder that wasn't being used for coffee. Of course, you don't want to mix it because your moringa is going to taste like coffee. But this is they call it a grain grinder, but it's basically an herb grinder, spice grinder. They sell them on Amazon. There's all different sizes and all different expenses. But I've been using these when we started doing it commercially or selling it. So they're nice machines that I was talking to somebody earlier about it. That's the type of machine I use. They are from China, but I spent months and months calling US-based companies trying to find a machine that could do it. I couldn't get anybody to connect the dots and understand what I needed. I actually have a grain mill now that won't grind leaves. It will do rice or corn or beans or something, but it wouldn't work with the leaves. So I have that if anybody wants to rent it. Cause, you go through trial and error when you're going through stuff. And the flowers. So these are the flowers. They're edible. They have, they taste good. I like eating them. I go out and tend to graze as I go through the yard and garden. But the bees love them. We get big bees, little bees, all kinds. I couldn't find any pictures to show you. And even when I take a picture, it's hard to see. But once the flower blooms and is pollinated off like a little stem, off these little stems, you'll get a little like green bean that starts to grow. And so it's edible the whole way until it starts to get too hard to cut. But in the green bean stage, they're little and they start getting bigger and it starts to get a little tougher. But until they'll be this long and skinny, you can eat them right out, off the tree. They're tender. They are spicy. Moringa has kind of a peppery, like arugula flavor, but different. And the pods have that flavor too when they're little like that. When you cook them, not so much, but when they're little. I'm going to pass some stuff around in a second for you guys to check out and then take your questions. So these are just some of the pods. They can get, like 3 foot long, get huge. As long as they're green and tender and they haven't started drying, like this one's drying at the base, you can cut them up and boil them, or, that's the easiest, I think, or in a crock pot or something. You have to cook them for a long time. The outside's not going to be edible when they get bigger like this, but the inside, you can chop them up and kind of eat them like edamame. Just smush the flesh on the inside out. It's kind of like a squash texture, and it's really good. It's a little addictive. So moringa I walk through the grove and I get high. It's just like, oh, this is awesome. And I think it's because my body's like, ooh, good stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. And so we have started doing moringa seed oil. So it's a new thing, a new machine, new process. And something I learned was the pretty seeds that you get, which I don't know if everyone's here seen seeds from a moringa tree. Let me pass these around if you guys do want to see them. But these are kind of crumpled. But when they first come out of the pod, they have these beautiful, fluffy little wings, and they will literally go blowing. So that's why they have the wings. They fly real easy in the wind. But the machine won't take them with the little wings on. You have to rub those wings off. So it's just another thing that you have to learn in the process of making stuff from the moringa tree. The oil is fabulous. So anyway, I rub the leaves off there using hardware cloth. So I don't know if there's an easier way. I'm sure there is, but that's what I'm doing right now. But we make the seed oil. When your seeds go through the machine, you've got the oil that drips down, and then they call it seed cake, or I think they call it frass too. I'm gonna pass this around for you guys to touch and feel it. They use this as, I haven't done it yet, but they use it for food for animals, like chickens and sheep and stuff. It's a little oily, but it's not too bad at this point. And don't eat it. He tasted it. Okay. Well, so hopefully the chickens will like it. But it's also supposed to be able to be used as fertilizer. And then I think they use that. I'm not sure if they might use the seeds themselves to filter water. So I'm not sure how clean it gets the water, but I know it moves the sediment down. But I have not done it and then tested the water to see if there was any bacteria in it or anything. But it is something I want to learn more about, is using it for that. I don't know, is Chris in here, my son? Okay. Oh, I'll take you. I just thought if you wanted to give everybody a little drop on their finger of the oil, it should make it around. So it's edible. It has a nutty smell and flavor. It's up to you guys. You don't have to. I should be able to make it around if he just does a drop. But it's not been filtered. There's nothing. I haven't done anything with it. I do have a friend that's making beard oil out of it. But you can take it internally, externally. It's supposed to be, nutritious internally and healing, inflammation, all kinds of stuff, just like the leaves. And then it's also supposed to be compatible with human hair and skin, where it's absorbed and the body can, it's not like it sits. Like castor oil is great, but it tends to sit if you've ever used it. I don't have any use castor oil externally, but it's really good. But the Moringa soaks right in. I like it. The smell, though, when you're making the oil is heavenly. So it's another thing. My smells. So these are just seed oil presses. This is a hand-done one. Of course, you're going to be working. And then this is they're cold oil presses, but they have to do a slight warming regardless to get that oil out, even though it's not heated to the point of destroying anything. It is warm to the point of getting the oil out of the seeds. So these are just some pictures off of Amazon, so you guys have an idea of what you're looking at. And they're expensive. I had someone donate ours, so it's not like I could afford it. And I didn't have any oil to bring. I'd already played with this too much. But that's just the seed cake and the oil. The oil is beautiful. Pretty golden oil there. And I do also have the powder. Most of you probably already seen it, but this you can open and touch it and smell it or whatever. It's going to the chickens when we're done. We put a little bit in our chicken feed. So for someone who's never smelt it or touched it, to me it makes a difference to whether I buy stuff. I like to touch and smell and taste before I even mess with things. But some people, and then these are the products we make from the Moringa. We make the powder. And so the longer the powder is exposed to the light, the lighter it'll get. So it should start out that color. We don't expose ours to light at all, but that's been sitting in that little jar for a minute. And we've got the seed oil, and then we have the Moringa extract, which is basically using vegetable glycerin and the powder. I tried extracting the fresh leaves because I like extracting fresh products, but I couldn't get it strong enough. And this I just did because I had customers who did not want to mess with powder. They just wanted to take a teaspoon every day, and that was it. And so that's why I started making the Moringa extract. I don't have any tonight. I was out to bring any for the vendor sale out front. And this is the end. This is just our information about where we are, what we do, and I'll go ahead and take questions if anybody has any.